Happy Friday, newsies! It is I, Becca Hector, and I am back with the next installment of Neurodiversity Newsstand. Uh, Welcome back, you guys. Happy Friday, Happy New Year, right? Happy first Friday of the new year. Welcome to 2020. I am really excited for 2020. I have had, or had, not have had, I had a really, really challenging 2019. And it was challenging, not necessarily in a good way. It was frustrating, and a lot of it was demeaning and stuff like that. And it was a really struggling, kind of painful year for me. So I'm looking forward to kind of starting all over and saying, okay, I'm going to leave all that behind me. This is what I want to work on this year. This is what I want to focus on this year. I don't want to worry about last year because there's nothing I could do about it. So that's the place that I'm in right now. And I don't want to talk about 2019 anymore because I'm over it. Okay? I am here in 2020 and I'm excited for what I'm looking forward to doing in 2020. I am going to have so much more stuff for you guys. I'm going to be so much more focused on taking all of the things that I believe in and know to be true and how to live and survive and thrive on this planet as an autistic adult. I'm going to do my very darndest this year to put blinders on, stay in my lane, focus on those things and get them down on paper or on video or somehow out to you guys. Hopefully, eventually, that will push me hard enough to get it all into book form at some point for you guys. But this year I'm going to be working on some courses and some programs for you guys so that we can all kind of start working on ourselves, start doing that personal development piece that I've been working on for all of these years. And I'm figured out how to save all the good parts and how to kind of combine it all so that I can give it to you as a gift for 2020. So that is what I'm working on. I'm excited to be doing it. It's been tough. I definitely suffer with overall depression, but absolutely seasonal depression. And it definitely, like, I don't know, it like dug its heels in December real hard. Well, look at that. I didn't even notice that. I bet you that's cat scratch. It's cat scratch. I'm going to blame them. They sleep on my head. And so be sure that's what happened. Anyway, but that's how often I look in the mirror. In any case, I want to kind of bring good things in 2020. I want to do good things for us, for the community, for adult autistics that are alive today. So that's what I'm going to be working on. I'm amped about it. I'm amped about pushing through my seasonal depression, which in December, I swear you guys, it was like sludge. I could not crawl out of it. And I'm still just making my way out of it right now myself. And I know a bunch of you are probably struggling as well. And I've been doing some forced sunshine despite the cold weather. And I've been doing some other things, but I haven't been doing enough. And that is the crux of the seasonal depression, is that your logical brain, your kind of knowledge brain, your wise mind, as people would say, knows exactly what you're supposed to do, right? There's a billion things I could be doing for myself to kind of help ease some of those symptoms. Something as complicated as bringing an indoor light in and those light sources that people have, but stuff that's really simple, like go outside and get fresh air more than once a day. Go outside and walk and see things and get out of your own way for a little bit and kind of just be in the moment, right? There are plenty of those things, and I didn't even have the energy to kind of crawl through the depression and do even those things that I knew would help. And it's crazy, and it's an oxymoron, and it's debilitating and frustrating, but that's what happens. And I want you to know that even though I talk about all this positivity, and I do, I don't mean it in a toxic positive way, because I know that there are crappy days, and I talk about the crappy days all the time, but I try to get myself back onto that positive track. And it's that ability to kind of be mindful about where you're at, and then to take your mind and move it to where you want to be. And that's the stuff that I want to give to you guys. And so I'm still working on it. I'm still learning it myself, but I've grasped a lot of it, and I'm pushing through, and I know that the cycles will end, and I know that there'll be better days, and I know all of those things. But I tell you guys, I know how much it stinks on the bad days, and that you can't see that light. So it's okay to hate me on those days, guys. If you see my memes and you're like, blah, 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 on those days, please do, because I feel like that at myself. And in fact, I think about that a lot. I don't want you guys thinking I sit around and I'm positive all the time. I'm pretty grinchy, actually. And as a pretty grinchy person, it was hard for me to kind of digest these things, and which is why I think it will be easier for you guys to digest because I've done sort of the pre-digesting. This is getting gross. I am stopping here. Any case, before I go on any further, I guess let's go to the news, right? Because that's what we are. We're Neurodiversity Newsstand. For those of you that may be new to the channel, Neurodiversity Newsstand started out as a group on Facebook. We were first a book group, and then we went into kind of news directly. Bunch of people who wanted to stay positive, be respectful to one another, but we're also really interested in what was going on in all the news related to neurodiversity, autism, ADHD, dyspraxia, all of those wonderful things, and wanted to discuss it with like-minded people. So I created a group for us. I created a little group safe space for us, and biggest rules there are all about respect to one another, and I really like it's zero tolerance. I see it, it gets reported, you're gone, I don't care. No excuses, I don't care about it. And I just, it's really important to me that we have conversations in there that are real and that are factual, and that don't become about opinion and about personal attacks. And so we kind of really monitor that in the group. It grew and grew and grew, and everybody loves it, and we've managed to only, I mean, a handful of people haven't made it, and that's it. And it got requested on LinkedIn, so I made a LinkedIn group, and now we're growing strong over there. And out of that, I realized that there are a bunch of people who do not necessarily take in information through reading, through the visual act of reading. And it's better when they receive information either visually or if they get it auditorily. And that, for me, is a struggle. Like, I don't do well with information that way. But I know that there are a bunch of you out there that do. And also, there's a bunch of you out there that just don't have the time to read everything that we're posting in all those groups, or to keep up with all of that stuff, because you have a life and you're doing things that are more important than sitting on the internet. And that's why I created this lovely vlog. So once a week on Fridays, I kind of sum up our weekly news that was in Neurodiversity Newsstand. I give you a little bit of my stuff and a little bit of what's going on in my life, so that you remember that I am autistic too. And that's about it. And that's where we're at. So if that's what you're into, please take a moment and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notifications bell. This way, whenever I drop these videos on Friday, whatever time it is, you'll get a lovely notification. So that's that. That is the spiel about Neurodiversity Newsstand, and with that, I am going to take us to the news. So, not a lot of news, not surprising. It's kind of early into the news cycle for sure in the new year. Not much went on over Christmas and whatnot, as we all know. I hope you caught my fireside chat, my little end of the year dig-do that I did. And that was fun to do, and I hope you enjoyed all the puppy butts that walked all over me. But it's time to talk about the news of today, the news of now, the news of 2020. And so we had a very short news week. I mean, there were stuff was posted and published, but for the most part, as we were kind of slow on business days and everyone was coming back from the holiday, not much news, but we did have some really good things come out. So I am going to share them with you, because the few things that did come out were so good that we were all on top of it. So here's what I got for you. This week, well, the first thing I want to talk about is this piece. It was a piece by Autistic Questions, and it's by Liam Webster. So on the Autistic Questions website, put out this little blog called "Am I Faking Being Autistic? How to Put These Doubts to Rest." Right? I loved it. So many of us responded to it, Liam. I hope that you saw how many of us shared and liked it and enjoyed it, and really felt heard, and we're really proud of what you had done with all of this information. So I hope you're getting lots of positive responses out there in the world, because you're getting one in our groups for sure. So this piece, what Liam did was he kind of broke down kind of what happens when you get diagnosed as an adult, and you've kind of already, through most of your life, identified in a particular way about yourself, and then you get this life-changing, relieving diagnosis of autism, and you begin to think you're a faker. Because how did you get through all of that time without anybody seeing it? And how, how this, how that, is it really possible? And maybe I really don't have it. Maybe I'm not that challenged. And maybe this, maybe that, maybe I talk too much, or I read too much, or I don't talk enough, or whatever it is that makes you question your diagnosis. And that's what this piece is about how to quell those fears and kind of really come through it with a better self-understanding. And I love the choices that you made, Liam, about all of the different numbers that he chose for kind of picking apart what happens to us inside our brains about that. And of course, I identified so much with number 4, which was imposter syndrome. And I definitely struggle with that part the most. I think a lot of us advocates do. We certainly talk about it amongst each other. And I know I talk a lot about it with my close friends. It's definitely something that I struggle with, and it pops up out of nowhere. So it was great seeing someone else's advice about how to handle it, because sometimes hearing somebody else's words about a topic kind of clarifies it for you in your own space. And that's what this did for me. It really helped me with some of those tips. So thanks for that, Liam. Really loved it. Got well shared. So if you, of course, haven't read it, as always, I will share in the description of the video all of the links to all of the articles that I'm talking about. So that will be there. Next up was a piece out of the Aspergian, and it was by Aspergirl, with a U, Aspie-Girl. And her name is Wendy. So shout out to Wendy Aspie-Girl. For this piece, it was called 2020 Resolution to Unmask and Live Unapologetically and Authentically. Yay, girl. I was cheering you on. I read it. I liked it, but then, I sit back and I kind of wait to see what goes on in the group and if it's just me or do other people kind of really like it, because that's what I end up sharing here. And sure enough, Wendy, here it is, because we all dug it. I mean, what she talks about in there is how it's work to unmask, and it's scary to unmask, and it's an effort to unmask and be authentic. But once you get there, there's nothing better than feeling at home in your own skin, right? And I'm just getting there. I think many of us live in hope and wish for that for many years. And you can get it. And there's another person telling you can get it. There's another person sharing with you that you can make a promise to yourself to be true to your authentic self. So take a look at that piece. We all loved it. I thought it was great. I saw it shared a bunch across the internet. It will be linked. And it was, of course, in the Aspergian. Next up. Okay. So here's what happened with this. So I'm excited to do this part. Okay. So I have good news, exciting news for me. I was actually asked to join the editorial board of Autism Spectrum News, which is a quarterly newspaper where they gather scientific articles and such about autism and the autism spectrum. And there's usually a theme or a topic for the month. And I followed them for many, many years, probably, I think, almost as soon as I got diagnosed. That was one of the first resources I was introduced with. And I've been following for a long time, and I'm honored to say that I was asked to sit on the editorial board. And I began my position on the editorial board with this issue, the winter 2020 issue, and the topic was, guess what? Neurodiversity. Yay! So there is an entire issue of Autism Spectrum News dedicated to all things neurodiversity. And what I'm going to do is share a couple of little articles with you here, the ones that I particularly want you to pay attention to, I guess, that I thought were the most interesting ones. But it's a great issue. There were so many. It was really hard to kind of pick through all of them, and I'm proud to finally be a part of it. I was excited to say that I was a part of making this issue happen. And so, yeah. I'm going to share the 3 articles with you that I think were my top rates that I think the most people should read, but we had so many in there. I really just, whatever. So I'm going to share all the links with you, a little link about my announcement and these 3 articles, but then I'm going to give you the link to the entire issue, the winter 2020 issue of Autism Spectrum News. The whole thing is online. It's free. I am going to give you that link. So if I want you to, know that there were other articles in there worth reading, not just these 3. And if you want to go ahead and peruse through the whole issue, you will find articles by other newsies besides the newsies I'm about to share with you. Isn't that crazy? Nutsy. I love it. So good. Good people. All right. So in this issue, the first one I want to start out with is from Christy Koenig, and she has given us an article. She is the chair over at NYU, the OT department, and she is a true ally. I mean, probably the truest ally I know. And so this piece is called Authentic Strength-Based Practice. Can Neurotypical Professionals Make a Paradigm Shift? And she writes about how right now when professionals are kind of attacking an autism case and they're kind of looking at it, they've been trained to look at it through a deficit model, to look for the weaknesses, to look for the deficits, or what they consider, right? What neurotypicals consider deficits, right? And to look for all of those things and then to try to fix them, right? Or to try to help with them or therapize them, whatever those are. And what Christy's starting to say in this article, and what she says very strongly with lots of backup and research, is that the whole profession needs to do a paradigm shift and start approaching clients with a strength-based approach rather than pointing out all of the deficits, right? It doesn't do much for their client to constantly be having to work with their weaknesses rather than feed into their strengths. And so she talks and cites many things in there. It's a great piece by Christy. She dares to say the unthinkable in many of her pieces. This is one of them. And so I really would love it if you guys took a chance to read it. That's one of them. Yay! Next up, from fellow newsie Barb Cook, we had a piece that came in for that issue called Autism, Neurodiversity, and Employment, Working Together for Positive Futures. And it's all about what we can do together as autistics and neurotypicals to kind of fix and adjust this really big issue we have in employment, within our community. It's a huge problem. And what can we do to take away this problem? What can we do to kind of alleviate the symptomology that we're seeing from this huge problem in our community? And it's great to see Barb's perspective. She's doing a lot of work on that. She's also doing a bunch of webinars. Maybe I'll try and find the link for it and stick it in here. If not, I'll stick it in maybe in the next installment. But in any case, she's doing a bunch of webinars. And this piece, also in Autism Spectrum News, really good one. Love having the autistic perspective on employment, or rather unemployment, right? Okay, last one. This is my third favorite, and this one came from another fellow newsie, Catherine Cody, or Kate Cody, however you know her. She is another fantastic neurotypical ally, another true to her depth of her soul ally. And she has written another fantastic piece for us. She's someone who truly understands kind of neurodiverse relations, like, how to kind of create those really good relationships between a neurotypical and autistic, and how to kind of traverse the communication issues that come with that. And she's someone that I go to personally for a lot of advice. She's my call a neurotypical friend. And I hope all of us autistics have one of those. You want to have a call a neurotypical, because sometimes you need neurotypical advice, like, hey, I'm going to go out in the world and this is what I think I should wear to this thing, but call a neurotypical friend. Should I wear this to this thing, or am I not dressed up enough, right? And so we all need that person, because if we were left to our own devices, we would try and change the world and think that sweatpants are good to go for every event. And though I believe that deeply in my soul, that is most certainly not the case. And so I have a phone a friend, and my phone a friend, Catherine Cody, has written this great article about disclosure and self-advocacy in terms of the workplace, right? And in terms of your neurodiverse relationships. And I'm happy to have kind of contributed to it a little bit, to the article, because it's something that Kate and I had talked a lot about as we worked together when we facilitated a support group. And then we continued to work together when we both used to host Spectrumly Speaking, the podcast. And so we share a lot of views on the topic, but she's broken it down into a digestible piece, and I think it's an important piece for every autistic out there to read. You guys ask me this question more than almost any other question. I think I get asked the most about masking these days, and about disclosure and self-advocacy, especially disclosure in the workplace. And I give you guys advice all the time, but I don't have a place or an article that I can grab and say, hey, keep this on your file, because when you start to question a disclosure, you can read this again. And that's what this piece is. So I hope you guys will read through it. I hope you'll save it somewhere so you can refer to it. It's a piece that I've been hoping to find out there for a very long time and couldn't, so I asked Kate to do it for us. And she did, and I'm excited to share it with you guys. And again, those were my three favorites, the ones that I kind of culled for the issue and that I really feel are important perspectives that be included when we're discussing neurodiversity. But that's just me. That's my opinion, my taste. So again, I'm going to link you the whole issue. Read through it. There's a bunch of pieces in there from other newsies. You may recognize names here and there. And kind of take a look through it, and certainly sign up for it. It's a free resource to you, and maybe even consider writing for it. I don't know. there's an issue every quarter. But that's what I've got to say about that. So that was the big piece that kind of came out, I think, in this week of any kind of digestible material, was this winter issue of Autism Spectrum News, which I'm glad to share with you guys today, with those articles. And I'm hoping that on this Friday, you guys will enjoy the rest of your day, go home for the weekend. I know it was probably a bunch of catch up for the last couple of days. Just trying to get into the new rhythm and get back into your old rhythm, whatever it is. So next week, I'm sure we'll be back running with some heavy news. Also, I'm sure I'll be seeing more participation from you guys popping back. And I'm sure that we'll have more to talk about because life goes on. And if we're living in the moment, we're always paying attention to what's happening now. So right now, I'm going to let you guys know that I have to get going because I have to record the next installment of Asking Spectrum Women, which means a sweatshirt change for me into my Autism Spectrum Women hoodie. And then I'm going to go record that, hopefully, before I lose my voice, because it sounds oddly like I'm going to lose my voice right now. That is the very first installment of Neurodiversity Newsstand for 2020. Welcome to it, you guys. I'm excited. It's just the beginning. We have so much ahead of us. And again, I'll remind you, if you're not subscribed to the channel, to go ahead and hit the subscribe button below and also the notification bell, because though I put these videos out on Fridays, I put them out at different times on Fridays. This way you can get a notification and let you know. Please, you guys, please let me know what you think of these videos. Do comment. Please comment wherever it is that you're seeing the link, whatever piece of social media it is, here on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, wherever you find me. Please let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if I missed things. Let me know if there's more you'd like to see. Let me know if there's stuff I don't know about. Please tell me. And please join Neurodiversity Newsstand, the groups, because if you'll share that stuff there and it gets enough attention in the groups, I will just put it right here in the vlog. Happy to share events, memes, blogs, whatever it is that you guys think is important to our community. And that's that. Also, if you can, if you don't mind, because I'm really dying to do this. So so far, I'm leading the way with 9 thumbs up. I have 9 as my record for a week. This week I had 8. Was hoping. But do me a favor. Give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the videos, if you want me to keep making them. It's a really easy way for me to know if people are watching and enjoying it or if I have to do something different. So give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Give me a thumbs down if you really hated it. And do me a favor. If you give me a thumbs down, have the decency to tell me why. I'd sure like to do it better. I guess. I think. Maybe. But yeah, get in touch with me, you guys. I love hearing from you. And if anything else, you can always email me at info@beccalaurie.com. Till next week, my friends, it is I, Becca Laurie Hector, your host of Neurodiversity Newsstand. Have an amazing weekend, and I will see you next Friday.